We all go a little mad sometimes.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
They're here.
Hi.
Hello there.
So,
Come up to the lab.
I'm I'm a transvestite alien, and I want to be in the sequel.
And I'm just the riffraff that comes in raggedy ass off the streets after my tire came down and burst.
I'm backing on.
And I'm not going to be in shock treatment.
Well, there you go. And you're listening to
They're here.
Podcast.
A discussion
Disembowelment,
of all things horror.
fear, and the macabre. Porn on the macabre.
It is now. Come on, campy theatrics. Get your girl.
That's me wearing all black ordering in a restaurant, you know. Did you
With
know
a
I have a
cigarette.
horror podcast? I'll have the corn on the macabre. Yeah.
So, come up to the lab and see what's on the slab.
But that's the look. Last Friday of every month.
Yeah, last Friday.
So,
What do you got for me?
happy Queer Pride, everybody.
Happy Gay Pride! Woo!
Woo!
Also, we should probably say that we don't just celebrate Pride on the 1 month. We celebrate it all year round. We express our individuality and praise Jesus.
This is just our annual celebration of the Stonewall riots.
Damn right. Fucking right on.
All of our queer brothers and sisters that came before us.
Damn right.
So speaking of queer ancestry, today we are talking about Richard O Brien's 1975 behemoth of a movie, The Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Love it. Like, this movie, I just can't deal with it. I swear to God, I watched this twice, yesterday and the day before, when I was like trying to get my notes and blah 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 together, and I shit you not, the whole fucking time there was a smile on my face, because every single detail, the fun, the love, the energy, the weirdness, you know, the pejoratives, you know, like, we just feel fucking great, and this movie makes you feel nothing but goodness inside, because it is a pure expression of queer art. That's what I'm gonna say on it.
I think this is kind of like not just the definitive like queer horror movie. It's one of like the definitive pillars of queer cinema.
Yes.
It's kind of, I don't want to say where it all began, but it's kind of like it's definitely one of the grandfathers. It's where kind of for the first time straight people kind of become the joke, like they're the clown, you know. And I remember as a kid, I know we both were kind of like given this movie as a gift, as kind of children.
Where did you
my
get
grandfather?
it
My grandfather, yeah, just there. He I remember this was like years ago, like when I was probably like 6, and it was on TV. I remember him kind of being like, "This is something you'd probably be into. Here, watch this." And I watched it and I fucking loved it. But it must have been about 2004, 2006, because this had the cut where the first like 20 minutes are in black and white, up until like very like the Wizard of Oz kind of cut, where everything up until the time warp is in black and white. And I fell in love with it.
from?
I was obsessed.
When I first got introduced to this film, my father, of all people, my dad, the straightest straight person you could probably come across, was the one who introduced me to this film. And I remember him putting it on. It was a VHS tape, and he would explain to me like certain things, because I technically kind of, right up until that point, I don't think I'd ever been kind of exposed to a lot of like queer representation or like anything like that. So I think this kind of film really just blew my fucking mind. It really did. It exploded, you know, my imagination into so many different directions. And what really made it home, in my opinion, that made me feel like, oh, there's other weird people out there. Like there's these strangers and weirdos that just collectible consciousness of strangeness. Was that my dad said to us, like, he remembers vividly dressing up in drag every few Saturdays when the Rocky Horror would show up in the cinemas, and it would always be a midnight showing because that's the fucking time to watch it. They would...
Yeah, this is like definition of like midnight movie. Like this is a cult movie, for sure.
He would get up, in drag, I mean, he would wear makeup, and he said this line, I'll never forget it, he wore big fuck off fur coats, and they would walk down to the cinemas in drag, and they would sit there, and they said they would throw popcorn at each other and yell shit at the screen while it was playing, and it says to me so much. Like, I fucking love this movie, and whenever I watch it, like, there's just a certain sense of, like, it's balls to the walls from this moment on, and you're gonna have a fucking good time.
Yeah, exactly. It's and like, now when I say that this movie is like queer cinema, it's only because of like the subject matter, and like I don't mean that this is like this is our thing or anything like that. It's like, I know so many people that like queer and not queer that like just fucking like love this movie, you know, like, and like you were saying, it's like this movie I think holds the record for like longest kind of like reoccurring like screenings, you know, because again, like you said, they show it every Saturday night. I know the cinema in Harold's Cross, where my grandparents lived at the time when this came out, they showed it every Saturday night. And even now, they continue to show it in the Sugar Club in town. Every Valentine's Day, they have an anti-Valentine's Day, and they show it every Halloween night as well. I actually missed it. I think 2 or 3 years ago, I went to a screening of Scream in the Sugar Club, and they were playing it literally like the next night, but the next night was like Halloween night. So it was like, like, you know, already had plans or whatever. But like you were saying, this movie is, it was one of the first times I remember as a kid being like, I want to go to there. Like, I have to be this. Like, this is like, I wanted to be surrounded by men in corsets and leather jackets and motorcycles with like good music, you know. It's like one of the first times I remember like truly like seeing myself on screen. Before I had ever like, just context for people who can't like see us right now, I'm like painted up or whatever. But I remember it was one of the first times where I was like, oh my God, I want to be that. Like, that's what I want to be. Like, you know, I found my tribe.
Yes, exactly. I was just about to say that it's like finding your tribe. Like, you, and I totally agree with you. I would say that yes, it is, like you were just saying, like it is for the queer kind of or sort of LGBTQ subtext that does go on through this film. It doesn't close it off to the message. Well, yeah, okay, fair enough. It's not subtext; it's text.
I think it's very, very much subtext. I can see Tim Curry's balls in this movie. It's very much subtext.
I do think because of the era that it came out in, like it was moving on from that bubblegum rock to like glam rock and like classic neo-romanticism and all of that kind of era of like the 70s and the 80s and all of that kind of thing. Like, you remember these people as like, I mean, they are literally aliens, but they look like they have arrived from another planet. Like the way they used to dress and the extravagance of it all. And I really do, like, even I'm as straight as they come, but like I fully identify with these people. And I'm like, these are the people, just like you said, I want to surround myself with, because they're the freaks, they're the geeks, they're the nerds, they're the weirdos, you know, and there's no judgment. There's no kind of reserve for any kind of preconceived ideas of what people should be via sexual identity, gender expression, anything like this. It's all just there. It's accepted.
Body size,
in and out, anything, whatever you are,
like,
it doesn't matter.
When we meet the Transylvanian, they're black, white, young, old, tall, thin, like everything, you know. We have like old ladies in this movie as background dancers, and like young, big people, you know, we have people of color, everything in this movie. And like, I think that we were only just kind of talking about this right before. I think that like this movie came at like the right time, and like it was just kind of right place, right time, where the world had already kind of been living in a Bowie type world, you know what I mean? So like things like Mark Bolan, all that kind of stuff, people that came just before this movie kind of greased the wheel and made this movie kind of like palatable for people, you know. I think it was just the perfect time. You know, and as we all know, this is the only version of Rocky Horror that exists. Nothing ever came about it afterwards.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just perfect timing, perfect place, perfect time.
I do really appreciate kind of what it meant to people back then, because of course the Stonewall riots had happened only, I think it was what, 5 years before. So like it was a film that sort of represented all of the ideals that were sort of not new, but just sort of like they're sort of like more and more accepted, and more everything that it came to be in the future years. Because as we all know, this film was panned at the beginning, specifically because of conservative old religious nonsense and all of this kind of stuff, that it really kind of pushed this film. And I think it only survived for like one weekend, like the opening weekend, and then it was pulled from cinemas. So it was panned, and then they shelved it. And then I know that there were film versions of the film that were basically like put around to different cinemas, and they were viewed at nights. And that's how like, you know, how people sort of built up a romance with it, and a love for the film in a way that creates the cult classic that it is today. Because when
actually, it really, it's like cult status.
Yeah, and it is quintessentially the cult. Like if you were to look up cult movie example, this would probably be one of the first films, if not the first film, that would probably pop up, because it really is. And like it was built by the fans. It wasn't done by the company. I know Fox really had little to no expectation for this film whatsoever. So it was built by the love of the fans, and they really kind of you know, it's a labor of love, and the fans really kind of give you that love, you know, and you see it on screen. Like I think I said to you earlier, like it was celebrated its 40th anniversary in 2015, meaning it's nearly 50 years old. So it's nearly the longest. It's the longest running theatrical release of a film of all time. It really is.
Yeah, I think only kind of competing with Gone with the Wind. Gone with the Wind was another huge one that was kind of like consistently like in cinemas, just like it's grossed so much money just because, like box office wise, just because it was in and on screens for so long.
Yeah.
But, you know, like we're saying, it's like this movie started out very small. The actual film itself premiered in London, I believe, in a 60 seat theater. There was only 60 seats in it, and then, like you said, kind of just spread like the gay plague. This movie would have been
the gay agenda is there.
But like made by lesbians, so you know it works.
Paid for my Uncle Steve. He got money, girl.
Why vote for me? Because I didn't need a fucking baby. But no, this movie, its influence is kind of everywhere, and I feel like, yeah, like a lot of what we have today, kind of queer history wise, we owe to this time era. You know, it's like it's kind of rare that a community can very much so like pinpoint like this is where it all started, and we can do that with the Stonewall riots, and we can do that with, because again, like you said, the gay agenda, like the queer agenda, it's still relatively new, you know, and we can look at things like this. This movie definitely contributed as to why people's minds might have been moved forward at the time. Like you said, your dad, you know, I don't know how many fucking people I know that like dressed up and went to the shit back in the day that are so not that kind of person, you know. But I think people kind of felt like they didn't want to be like left out of a movement. You know what I mean? Like this movie is just like so important for so many people. And I think also, especially for our friend group in particular, I think like we all kind of like bond over the fact that like this is like our little thing, you know.
I definitely, no, I totally agree with you. I would always use like this film would be like how we greeted each other, or like, you know, that thing where that magenta and
with Gemma, anytime I ever saw Gemma, it used to be a thing where we go up and do the like
the hand roll up to the elbows and back down, and then like quoting at each other like with, you know, the movie, or like Mean Girls, you know, like it was our way of it was our way of like connecting and bonding with each other. And it was just like, it really is like the cultural...
like that's the test. If somebody new was going to come into the group, it's like, do you fuck with Rocky Horror though?
Do you know? Do you know? Rocky!
Dr. Spock! Yeah.
Brad! Janet! Rocky!
No, but for real, it's like this is kind of the first and kind of not the only place, but it's like exclusively the first place where I saw that like being queer wasn't like fucking gross, and like it was like punk and like cool and like tough and like sissy, but also like threatening, you know. Like I don't know why, but I love the kind of juxtaposition of like a queer punk, like a violent femme, you know what I mean? I think I said that a couple of years ago, where I was like, 2020 is going to be the year of the violent femmes or whatever, you know? But just like Tim Curry in this fucking role just eats up the scenery. And like this man is just...
He doesn't eat it, he fucks it. He full on fucks the scenery. That's what he does.
I think that like Tim Curry is one of those people in this movie that is just universally agreed upon to be like one of the most like sexual creatures, just so beautiful. And like there's like very, very like kind of vivid like depictions of like bisexuality and transvesticism and dressing up, and even some kind of also a little bit of incest in this movie, because like Riff Raff and Magenta are, but they're also aliens, so it's they're also aliens as well. If you haven't seen this movie, boo-hoo for you.
50 years old, you have no excuse.
You have no excuse. But this movie is basically queer transvestite alien Frankenstein. Not Frankenstein's monster, but Frankenstein. And it's just it's you can tell all the like love that went into this. You can tell that Richard O Brien really is like one of our clan, like really is part of our tribe. You know, it's all the small references in this to the Wizard of Oz, to the Bride of Frankenstein, to, you know, all of this. It's just it's perfect. It's perfect.
It was so interesting that you mentioned like the whole kind of punk movement, because that did kind of come along in the late 70s and the 80s and things like that. And ironically, right, people like Pierre LaRoche, who did the makeup for Frankenfurter, was actually the makeup artist for both Mick Jagger and Bowie, which is that blew my mind when I found that out. And ironically, the costume designer, God forgive me, I forget her name, but she was the one who created up the, you know, his leather jacket with all the pins and the spikes and stuff and the chains. That inspired the whole punk movement, because everyone after that, people like Sid Vicious and all that, with his famous like lock and chain around his neck and everything, that was all inspired by the costume designer who worked on this film. And I think that's such an amazing kind of like, you know, like going from something
definitely
that
see
is
the trickle down effect. I mean, like this Frankenfurter's look paired with slightly different hair very definitely works as a Susie Sue costume. You know, it's that like super harsh, the lines like right by the eye, like right into the nose, into the bridge of the nose. No, this movie's influence is definitely like undeniable, and it's just so you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's everything I want from a movie. It's a musical, first of all. It's fucking, like, punk as shit. Like, and it doesn't have that, like, posery feel to it, because it's, like, it's made by all the people who were there when it was just the Rocky Horror Show.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, on stage. So, all of these people really were, like, kind of proto-punks, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just like really, really like true originals. Like, there's nothing kind of like this out there. There really isn't.
Yeah. There's just actually, just out of context there, like when this film actually did start out as a play, the same year like The Exorcist and The Wicker Man came out, when it came out on film, Stepford Wives and Jaws came out the same year as it, which is fucking amazing. So like it just tells you about the whole time and like how it got on. I know that Jim Sharman, who was actually the director of the film, previously worked on Hair and Jesus Christ Superstar. He was yes, it was. I love it. And he was, so like, you know immediately, like, because he comes from the playwright's background, so you know immediately that it's in good hands. And when this came out, you knew it was going to be good. So I just, you know, deep friend of the pod, Jim Sharman, Richard O Brien. So like, fucking props to you, mama. That's how we do it.
I love Richard O Brien. I have like very, very like vivid memories of, and this is like before I saw the movie, right? I remember in the 90s, early 2000s, Richard O Brien re-released The Time Warp as like kind of like a dance mix or whatever like that. But I remember vividly like my mom teaching me like The Time Warp, but like pre me even like knowing what, like pre even knowing what like Rocky Horror Picture Show was. But I remember again seeing Richard O Brien, like this is even before me seeing Tim Curry or anything like that. I remember being like who the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Because he was so like super queer, you know. And it's like up until then, the only people that I had kind of seen that were like very effeminate but very obviously still male or whatever like that, were like Boy George and shit like that. And I was like, okay, like as a child, kind of slowly like collecting people in my head that I was like, okay, I want to be like this, I want to be like that, and just like putting all these little like kind of ingredients into my head, you know, all these kind of like small influences.
He did the Crystal Maze. Do you remember that game show? He was the host of Crystal Maze, which was absolutely amazing, by the way. I remember being absolutely fucking enamored by that game show, and my dad telling me like, yeah, that's Riff Raff. It's Riff Raff. And I was like, what? And I remember looking at that show and like I was totally obsessed, because the whole point of the thing was to get like these kind of crystal ball things from like the end of like some game room or whatever, and it was always like gothic inspired kind of thing, and I loved it. I thought it was
Richard O Brien on our TV screens every Saturday night at like 6 o'clock.
Oh my god, I live for Richard O Brien. It's so good. Bringing out the gay in me. I'm just gonna do
like very, very kind of like quick like rundown. So we have a great cast, just like a stunning cast. Again, everybody is like really, really beautiful. Some faces we'll like see again. And everybody is so young in this. Yeah. Everybody is so young. So we have Susan Sarandon. We have baby Susan Sarandon as Janet.
Icon.
And Barry Bostwick as Brad Majors. And like these two are supposed to kind of be the conduit for the like audience. They're supposed to be the quote unquote normal people that come in.
Yeah.
The quote unquote straight guy, not like hetero, like, you know what I mean? They're like the normal kind of whatever. And they come in and these people are just, I don't want to say like made fun of, but I love, like I kind of said at the start, it's one of the first times where I ever saw like straight people be the joke. You know, but even again, it's not like everybody in this castle, it's not like the Transylvanians come across as like
mean-spirited.
Mean. Exactly. It never comes across as mean. It's always just very kind of like, you know?
Kind of thing, yeah. Just like,
yeah, just kind of like poking, you know? Yeah. Like we know something, you kind of a thing.
It's I do think that the story does act as a parable. Like Brad and Janet, they represent the kind of conservative religious family movement who are taken on, quote unquote, an alien odyssey to indulge in even further, quote unquote, the sins of the flesh. Yeah, it's very that.
Yeah.
I love it.
So we're kind of introduced to these as our two innocent, young, naive, freshly engaged couple. And they're so well scrubbed. They're so, like, just so, you know, they, like, come in from the rain and everything. It's, like, such a classic kind of, like, setup, you know?
Yeah.
And kind of, like, just at the beginning, like, I just want to say the soundtrack to this movie. If you don't want to watch the movie, listen to I listen to the soundtrack, no joke, like, probably, like, once a week at least. Like, this is, like, my, like, cleaning... You know what I mean? It's like I put this on when I clean. It's like genuinely good music. Like it's not like, I know some people are kind of apprehensive when they hear like musical or like theater, but it's like, no, it's like jazzy, like punky, like it's rock and roll. It's just,
What's your favorite song from the soundtrack, do you think? If you had to pick, gun to your head.
I'm always kind of stuck. Give me a moment. I'm always kind of stuck with like "Rose to My World" or like "Touch Me." I don't know.
Mine would be either "I'm Going Home," which is heart wrenching to hear, or
my funeral song, by the way.
Yeah.
No joke, like literally, like no joke. Like I want that played like at my funeral.
Yeah. Yeah, I think either "I'm Going Home" or it's just "Going Home." I think it's "Going Home" on the soundtrack, and then "Sword of Damocles." You know that one that Rocky sings, "The sword of Damocles hanging over my head, sha-la-la-la, in my head." Yeah. It's that one as well. Like I know you can obviously say like the Time Warp and you know all of those types of songs, but definitely it's sort of those ones that aren't always listened to that kind of catch my attention more. Does that make sense? You know?
Or I like Eddie. I actually really like Eddie. The one where they always think about him.
I.e. Meatloaf.
Like it is always random that like Meatloaf is just kind of like in this movie. And like for years, right, it actually kind of took me a while to realize that like I knew he was kind of like past experiment because he has like the very kind of classic Frankenstein like scar right across the forehead. But I actually noticed a line last night where he's like Frankenfurter is like, oh, that's one from the archives, whatever like that. And I'm like, so he's inferring that there's like plenty more there, that there's like plenty more like experiments. The idea that like a Frankenstein has tried and failed multiple times, and now he's perfected his kind of formula, which is just gay. Gay plus lightning equals Rocky Horror.
Yeah.
But no, I love the idea that like, we're not like he is like Frankenfurter is like quote unquote the villain. But like I don't think anybody views him like that. I think like everybody wants a Frankenfurter in their life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you kind of need that mix of like sassy, bitchy, but also has a heart. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm just describing a Drag Race winner there for some reason, but like, you know what I mean? Show us the vulnerability, Frankenfurter. Show us the versatility.
We want to see versatility. Yeah, exactly.
I will show you versatility when Santino wins a sewing competition and Visage wears a fucking turtleneck. Okay? Not gonna happen.
It looks costumey to me.
I feel like every time I see you, we're hiding behind another costume.
Yeah, but who is Ivy? I know we're asking you to play a character. That's literally what the entire point of the show is. But who are you, though?
I feel very attacked right now, okay? How am I supposed to feel in this moment?
I didn't want to make it like that, Ganja. I didn't want to make it that everybody was attacking you.
Oh, you even got the attacking you.
Attacking you. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, tangent.
Okay, deadass.
Delacroix,
Yeah.
Supreme, Delarise, Van Cartier, Tangerino.
Okay. The idea that like Frankenfurter has like taken Eddie or made Eddie, not really made Eddie, but like taken Eddie, and then like he split his brain between himself and Rocky. That's why Rocky is kind of a mute, but not really, because he's thick. Rocky doesn't kind of talk. Rocky's very much so like infantile, kind of based on that like Charles Atlas, very like classic bodybuilder kind of look, you know, man of the world kind of thing.
And it was actually
even the big like stained glass above their bed is
an
like,
Atlas, holding up the world. Yeah, they actually like at several points. I know there's one in Just 7 Days I Can Make You a Man. That was actually one of Charles Atlas's magazine advertisements, because he was doing all of these things, and like it suddenly makes sense like where all of the sort of influences specifically geared towards Rocky were coming from. And I think it's a really interesting thing. Actually, while we're talking about Rocky, you know his golden his golden pants, his underwear, they were sold for £1,000, and they're now hung up in the Hard Rock Cafe in New York, which is fucking nuts. I love that. I think that's so cool. I was like, there's a classic bit of I know Rocky, the Hard Rock Cafe is known for memorabilia, but imagine walking in and just be like, I know whose balls were sitting in those.
Yeah, let's take deep with. I'm gonna wear those as my mask in public from now on. Little budgie smuggler, but but also, so Rocky is fully played by just a model whose real voice and real everything like isn't used. He's just there to be beautiful or whatever. Because actually, initially, Rocky in the play is more kind of thin and kind of stringy with like longer hair and stuff. He's not this very like classic
male Adonis type,
like in the movie kind of Charles Atlas kind of like a look. You know, the very like oiled up, like muscly, like all that kind of stuff, which again was not even like a super common look. Yeah, that was a very like it's sort of based off of the classic figure of the male Adonis, or like the figure of Antinous, who is a gay, like sort of a gay icon now at this point. The whole saddle side hip, muscular front, and then like the feet. Well, it is. It's just kind of like that very classic masculinity. And like I love the juxtaposition between Frankenfurter and Rocky. You know, it's like this like super effeminate man and this like very classic kind of brooding like
male character.
When I say stupid looking, I don't mean that as an insult, because that's kind of the type that I like, but somebody who looks kind of cavemanish. Yeah, like very masculine and rudimentary.
Yes, he's a rudimental classic male.
Rudimentary. To be called rudimentary.
Rudimentary, you are a male Adonis. Okay, just act.
It's like
dumb.
Somebody simple, you know. You poor dope, you know. You're so beautiful.
You're so beautiful. Act stupid and in the corner. All you know how to do is, in the moment you are born, you are to lift weights, and then you're good. Yeah. Okay. Good. That's your character profile.
Now it's my criteria is what's the criteria from Death Proof, where it's like somebody funny but not funny looking. No, somebody hysterically funny but not funny looking. You could fuck. Yeah, exactly.
What part of hysterically funny but not funny looking guy who you could fuck did you not understand?
Also, you're talking about like fucking literally Kurt Russell. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
One of the most beautiful men of all time.
True. I will attest. I can appreciate male beauty, and yes, Kurt Russell is hot. Yes. Even as an older man. Even as an older man. I agree. He's
Kurt Russell
good
has only continued to like Kurt Russell has only continued to like get better looking. Like he just grown into the looks. God damn it! I would let Kurt Russell make my insides. I would let Kurt Russell cremate me.
Honorary human chair of the week, maybe.
Honorary. I'm just gonna say everybody in this movie, including the criminologist, is a chair. I would sit on anybody's face in this movie. Everybody in this movie is gorgeous. Scooch forward, ladies. I'm a chair of the week. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
We are working on getting sounds in. Trust, we are working on that. It's coming. We promise. It's coming. Yeah, let's get into this film, because, yeah.
Oh, because what have we been doing for the last half an hour?
Yeah. Well, actually, I know that the whole kind of style of this film and the way it's shot and all of that is meant to evoke, obviously, like the campy theatrics and all of that. Notes on fashion. Hey, how you doing? But it's inspired mainly by the iconic Hammer horror of like the previous. I mean, like literally, it's done on the same sets.
Well, it's literally filmed.
Hammer horror.
It's literally filmed in the same houses. So many Hammer horror movies were filmed at, which is now a hotel that we could literally go and stay at.
We're gonna do that. We're gonna fucking do that. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
We're sending that out to the universe now. We're going to make that happen. I know that it was inspired by like The Curse of the Werewolf, The Evil of Frankenstein. Richard O Brien was saying, like B-movie horror and B-movie science fictions like Tarantula and Forbidden Planet, like were smashed together with like bubblegum rock and like, you know, the birthing of glam rock, which was the 70s. And he just mashed it together, and then it was what came out, you know, and this is what he like birthed out of his brain. I think that's just so cool. And I know that this is going to be really, really good, but Elvis, Bowie, and Princess Diana were in the audience when this started to get bigger. So I know that it was at the West End in that time frame when it got like a little bit more popular. They all watched it.
At a screening.
And I know Diana actually made an appointment to meet up with Tim Curry, who, if you don't know, plays Frankenfurter, if you didn't get that already. They met, and she was like, "You have finished and completed my education." That's what Tim Curry said. And I was like, yes, this is how I want it.
For real, just like very, very quick side note, like I love Princess Diana. Like she was a huge LGBT plus advocate. There's that story of Freddie Mercury dressing her up in drag for her birthday, dressing her up as like in male drag,
really,
like in like leather daddy drag. Yeah, wow. Freddie Mercury got her in like male leather daddy drag and like brought her out to like gay bars for her birthday, so nobody would recognize her.
Oh, I like that.
But the idea of like Princess Diana in like a handlebar, like the Village People style mustache, you know. But yeah, love Princess Diana. R.I.P.
I should actually note, like, I know Frankenfurter was actually in the line. Mick Jagger was also in the line for Frankenfurter. I know Steve Martin was also in the line for Brad. And you know the criminologist, originally, here's you're gonna fucking love this. Vincent Price was in the running for the criminologist.
Well, it's that type. Like, you can really read. Charles Gray is who ended up eventually. He's kind of also like the narrator, which is like it's such a weird part of this movie that there's like, it's actually all told. You actually might not realize it watching the movie. It's all told in the same way like Carrie is, where it's all kind of told by way of like investigation. Like somebody's put together like a briefing on the events that took place in this castle, and this movie is like the retelling of it. You know?
Yeah.
The criminologist kind of opens it up as like this strange case of
love a power couple
of Brad Majors and Janet Weiss. Like it's kind of written as like a what's the word I'm looking for? Whatever. Yeah, it's all told like in a past tense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you can definitely see that. You can definitely see that, like, Charles Gray is very much so the Vincent Price type. Like, it's the same kind of accent. But also, like, nobody and I mean this, nobody could have played Frankenfurter the same way. It's like something about like Tim Curry's mannerisms in this movie really informed like much of how my personality is. And a lot of people kind of took from that, you know. I feel like it kind of when I say this, I don't mean this in like a negative way, kind of established some kind of stereotypes that I really, really enjoy about gay people in this movie. No, but I do. It's the idea of the like, you know, and the kind of like, you can see him like really like get into it and really like live for it. Like you can tell like everybody in this movie really, really just enjoyed themselves, you know, and you can tell when somebody's not comfortable playing a role, but it's like Tim Curry just is this person, just inhabited this role, and nobody else got that. Nobody else could play Frankenfurter, you know.
Exactly,
and again, he played it on in the play. But like he played Frankenfurter in the play as well, you know. It's like that's why I love this movie, and that's why this movie really shines like the way it does, because everybody like really wanted to be there.
Yeah. I definitely I gotta hand it to them. They created a film that will stand the test of time. I mean, it's nearly 50 years old and it can still be shown in theaters without someone even needing to ask. We're just like, yeah, we're gonna put it on next weekend, throw it on, we're gonna have a good time. We know we're gonna sell out the seats. You know what I mean? It's pretty much guaranteed. Yeah. You're not going to find casual moviegoers going to this thing at this point. Right now, it's full on fans. If you know type deal with this movie. It is it's a cultural moment, and it is definitely something that needs to be praised. And I think that's actually the reason why I was the one who sort of pushed. I was like, we have to do the Rocky Horror. We need to like get this in there. I needed to get it and make sure that it's pushed into Pride Month, because I fucking love this movie. Love it.
Yeah, I personally had nothing to do with it. I hate gay people and Rocky Horror.
So yeah.
I mean, let's just say only one of us is wearing red lipstick right now.
Well, I would have, had we.
But no, not a hetero bitch!
Oh no, this is, yeah. I don't know where to go. Where do you want me to go from there? Do you want to, I don't know.
I think you should leave.
I should just go. I should just pack my shit and go. Need help packing? Beat it, queen. Yeah.
No, but for real, fuck off.
You're not even gay. What are you doing here?
So the idea of like taking a story that's already kind of pre-established, the kind of Frankenstein story, and like twisting it around in such a way, it works. It just works so perfectly. And like this movie is just like, we're not even like, usually we would follow the formula of kind of going like kind of piece by piece, like kind of set piece by set piece, but like this movie, this like episode is just gonna be us like you know, just because like what else can you kind of say about it? I don't know a single person that's seen this movie that doesn't enjoy it.
Yeah,
it's just a fucking great movie. Yeah. It makes you feel good and feel sad. Yeah. You know, I cry at the end of this movie. I literally was last night, like, and you try and do that like dignified cry when you're alone, where you just kind of like, where the tear just like escapes over like the corner of the eye and like falls, and you're like, I'm crying. Why did you kill that gay alien? Yeah.
With an antimatter lasered gun. Why did you kill that gay alien?
I love it.
But yeah, no, I totally agree with you. There's something that this movie gives to every person, and I know, ironically, considering yes, I'm straight, you're gay, but it does give sort of the same feeling. Like there's, no matter where you're from or any type of that, it, like you said, like you don't come away not liking this film. No matter
what or who you are. For real, there's a light over at the Frankenstein plays. This movie is for everybody.
It is.
It just so happens made by queer people and about queer
Yeah.
people. Like,
It transcends.
Everybody can find it.
Yeah, it transcends the boundaries of anything, which is why I always go back to that. It gave, like, you know, everyone an excuse to really be themselves and be comfortable in whatever skin they were in, and give them the freedom of expression. Like, I know back in the day, like, I wasn't there, because I was there. That's how old I am. It gave the marginalized in society the freedom to explore their identity, free from judgment or persecution. Before there was like a space for that common, before there was a common space to do that. Before there was a quote unquote safe space to do that. Like, it gave people.
It's still illegal to do all that shit.
Like, it gave people from all walks of life to coexist. It gave them a place to coexist, like whether they were gay, straight, trans, cis. It didn't matter. It gave them an excuse to get loose and just have a good time. Like, you do not come out of this film feeling down. You feel fun, you feel accepted, you feel like, yes, you know what, I've seen that once. Now the next time I'm gonna dress up in drag and I'm gonna go, you know what, I'm gonna fucking come in a corset and a pair of heels. Like, give me that red lipstick, let's go. You know, like, that really is the experience that you get
again,
from this film.
I was still illegal at the time.
Yeah.
So like, seeing this movie in itself was kind of an act of revolution or rebellion, you know. I know, like, up until literally like 1993, it was still illegal to be gay in Ireland, which is fucking crazy to me. That's only like 3 years before I was born. But like, now I love the idea that like,
and 100
like,
years
how many
after
times
I was born.
Like, they didn't even call it time when you were born. But God said, "Let there be light," and you said 10 more minutes.
I looked at my watch and said, "Really, you're only inventing time now." Get to stepper, bitch.
Nathan used to personal train Father Time.
Yes, too right. And did you see that bitch now? He's cut. He's got the cum gutters to prove it.
Okay, so we actually have to have like some semblance of like structure in this
like
episode.
We haven't even told the people like the plot of this film.
If you can't tell, for the past 40 minutes, Nathan and I have just been separately jerking off to a copy of Fucking Horror. The movie's not playing. I'm just looking at the box. Oh, so like small, interesting, like small tidbit. When I was young, like young, do you remember what that's like, Nathan?
It was a good while ago, but I vaguely, I was never a kid, but I vaguely remember it.
See me, I'm still young. I'm still spring chicken. But the cover, like the kind of like the cover that I like associate like is the one that's like on the t-shirt of Tim Curry sitting in the big lips. Before I ever saw this movie, I used to think that was Sigourney Weaver.
Wow.
You can see why. I had seen Alien before I had seen this, but like that cover looks like Sigourney Weaver.
You know, the cover that I always associate with the Rocky Horror is that drawing of Frankenfurter's head with that side part. And like, just, it sort of cuts off at the pearls at the neck. That's the one I was, like, the severe eyeliner and everything. And like the deep, like, pushed out lips. Like, that's what I always associate with it. I love it. I think it's so good. I think it's great.
It's the album cover for the soundtrack.
It's the drawing. It's a drawing. I think it's actually the play like cover.
Oh, you know, it's this with the earrings.
With the straight across.
I know exactly what you mean.
That one. Like, that's always whenever
it
I
is.
hear
Yeah, it's that was promo for the show.
Yeah, like that's literally like, I mean, like, of course the lips are essentially iconic. Like, those are the, like even if you haven't seen the film, those lips are like, you know, you can't you can't have seen the film and still like no, you know what I mean? Like, that was definitely.
Patricia Queen's lips are iconic, bro.
Yeah.
Also, another I forgot to mention. We have Patricia Quinn in this movie as Magenta and Little Nell as Columbia, who are just like, oh, they're so good. They're so good, and they're adorable. Pair. But like, I love how like vampy she is. Like she's so over it, at all times.
Well secluded, I see all. And actually, Columbia and Magenta were originally just supposed to be one character, kind of like mishmash together. But they, for the contest of direction, they wanted to like separate the characters and give another storyline because they felt that the play was too short. And like extra songs were put in, like the Time Warp itself, the classic song that you, even if you have never seen this film, you know the fucking Time Warp. And that song was a complete late addition to the film just to extend the runtime of the movie. And I think like that was like one of the best decisions ever made. Like it's like if you've never seen this film, you know what the Time Warp is, and even if you don't know the Time Warp, you'll know the dance down shake. Like you know the Time Warp dance even if you don't know the movie. Let's do the Time Warp again. The hip movement, yeah, it's just a jump to the left and then a step to the right.
Yeah, and then a step to the right with your hands on your hips and bend your knees in tight, and it's pelvic thrust. Really drive me insane.
Yeah.
Let's do
the Time Warp again. Yeah.
But yeah, no, Patricia Quinn played the candy striper girl, the girl who kind of at the start goes around and like gives out.
Yeah, she was
like, and she originally sang science fiction double feature, but like I actually I kind of prefer her original version. I prefer the stage version of that song because she sings it in more of a I like Patricia Quinn's version because in this movie it's Richard O Brien's voice but Patricia Quinn's lips. Yeah, that was brave also getting like that close up into the camera and like fully but like there's one movement as well that she does where it's what is it fights a triffid that spits poison and kills. Like the like lips just like do like a little dance when it gets
I love the whole kind of sort of weird kind of like chin movement that's also in it. Like oddly it makes the lips look like they're dancing side to side. It's just so weird. Yeah. And I just think it's so fun. And I think that's actually another song that it probably is one of my favorites is Science Fiction Double Feature. I think that's a good one.
Same, yeah, I forgot to mention it at the start. Just because it's so referential, I love anything that's referential, especially anything that's referential to like kind of classic horror and sci-fi. And they like really go through the list,
Yeah. I know that when like Riff Raff lets Brad and Janet into the quote unquote hello I was supposed to say Frankenstein, but Frankenfurter mansion. Like the clock, the grandfather clock that like opens up and has the skeleton in it. That's actually a real fucking skeleton. That's a real skeleton. Right. And it was like, oh my god, I was mind blown when I heard it. And it's like this woman, a widower, like basically paid to have her husband's bones not vitrified, but like the way they put a covering over it so it like it never kind of rots away. And he like they did it in a way that like it's a coffin shape and blah blah blah, and that was sold for £35,000 in 2002 to a private owner. So some private bitch has the actual fucking grandfather clock with the skeleton in it. I'm like, if I ever walk into a house and see that.
This set is genuinely fucking crazy. Like literally, like right next to that, like just directly across from it, there's a taxidermied leopard fighting a taxidermied snake.
Oh my god! Yes.
Like in just it's like this is just like the hallway. You know what I mean? This is like before they've even like gone in, and like this house. Oh my god! Like this is like top of my list for like fictional. Well, it's not even a fictional house, but like it's obviously not decorated that way in person. This fucking castle, I fucking love it so much. They have like when Dr. Scott comes in, Frankenfurter's like, he'll be in the Zen room. And they have this like room that's like Yeah, it's got all the like sitar music and everything playing, and
Yeah.
it's got like incense,
All the incense burning, yeah.
like hookah and stuff. And he comes in and he picks up a quote long cigarette. He picks it up and just like and throws it away. And they turn off the joint back, and it just pulls him the whole way through the house, like in and around Magenta and Columbia and everything. And they kind of like very much so just like
Yeah, they're like
don't even
whatever.
acknowledge that he's.
This like
But
this,
like
yeah.
so like kind of the main plot of this movie, which kind of doesn't actually matter in a
Yeah.
way, is Brad and Janet, they get engaged. They get to like their car breaks down, and they walk to this castle, and from then on, it's kind of a phantasmagoria or whatever. But then we kind of find out that there's like an investigation going into finding out if these people are aliens or not. There's like a UFO kind of B plot, which kind of like, yeah, it turns out to be true, but like they almost really don't like focus on it too heavily, you know?
Yeah, I really, really appreciate the kind of like the overall plot, and then the subtext of like all these like later additions that were like, oh my god, we could do this, and oh my god, this will sound like let's go in that direction. Like I love that sort of it wasn't a haphazard kind of thrown together, but there was, I'm guessing, like some of these things were like late additions to put into the film to create an overall kind of scheme. And like after Eddie is murdered and they're in that dinner scene, like I always think it's so funny. Like it's very clear, like that Frankenfurter and Magenta and Riff Raff don't know how to entertain guests, because they're just like fucking bits of Eddie onto the plates, like throwing the wine on it and everything. Now. And if you notice, like very, very like quick little detail in that thing, which by the way they didn't know Eddie was underneath there. That was a reveal in an actual Susan Sarandon scream. All the cutlery and thing is completely mismatched. You actually can see, I have it written down actually, you can see that there's like actual how do I say it, like surgical equipment, including like sample jars, knives and bedpans as plates. And I just think this is so weird and so crazy, but like I'm totally in for it, and I'm like, yes, keep going, I want more, Mr. Gorbachev. Tear down that wall.
No, I love that scene though, because it's like it's Rocky's like birthday dinner, and like they come out and he's like, "Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you," and then like everybody else starts joining in, and he just cuts it off, and just starts singing. I love it, you know. He's got like the turkey carver or whatever like that. I love it. Also, that table. Oh my god, the table is so stunning. Yeah, it's this like huge table. And I think, like, even as a kid, like, when I first kind of saw this, I didn't realize that they were eating Eddie. I kind of just thought that they were disgusted that Eddie was under the table. So Meatloaf is, like, killed, right? Because he kind of, I don't know, is, like, basically going to expose fucking Frankenfurter and everybody's plan. Because he's Dr. Scott's nephew, right?
Yeah. Dr. Von Scott.
What are you implying? Yeah.
It's all right, Brad.
Yeah, no, it's so good. But,
and it's never brought up again either. It's like a little like another like side plot where you're like, or should I say, Von Scott? And he like totally like loses his composure in that wheelchair. And he's like, it's all right, Brad.
But I love this scene. It's very, well, you were saying this before. I also don't think it is because the play came out first, but like, it like kind of Texas Chainsaw vibes. And you can see Frankenfurter like has a moment of like, like I'll fucking show you.
Yeah.
And he like rips off this sheet, and it's this big glass table with these two big red crosses on it that like go parallel to each other. I love that. Like I want that in my house one day, with a partially eaten / decayed, kind of dismembered Eddie like in the table as a centerpiece. Oh, yeah. And then listen, this is like, you know, we go on tangents because Tangent is my middle name. I I had this like fever dream of like, if I ever had money, there was a moment in time where Charles Manson's body was on sale because nobody had gone to claim. Right. Listen, I had the like fever dream of wanting to buy Charles Manson's body, have it like preserved in some type of way, and have like this table, but instead of meatloaf in the middle of it, it's Charles Manson.
Oh my god. Wow.
I wouldn't eat him though. That's rude.
I actually found that pun that Frankenfurter says really, really good. I was like, Eddie, rather a tender subject, wouldn't you say? Another slice,
Another
anyone?
slice? Yeah, it's so good.
And Rocky,
No,
like,
also,
everyone
like,
is
then, like-
screaming at it, and Rocky's still eating the meat.
Like even like with his hands or whatever like that,
Yeah.
there was like extra crunch in it. But then I love Columbia, like kind of like, I've had enough. And she steps up and she walks away and she leaves the room and you just hear her like, I love it.
That's actually a very funny thing that I'm just after remembering it now. In the shot where Brad sort of loses his shit with Frankenfurter for some reason, I think he like makes fun of Scott or something, and Brad like he looks up and he slams both hands down on the table. It's like, what are you implying, or something like that. And you can see Susan Sarandon, Janet's character, literally just go. And if you notice it, his left hand, he slams his hand onto her arm. Like, you don't even realize it in the shot. And you know, the funny thing was, I like researched this and then I found out that if you look at the scene at the end during the performance on stage, Janet steps backward with her stiletto onto Brad's foot.
Onto Brad's foot.
Oh,
yeah,
God.
I
I'm
noticed
just like,
that.
revenge is sweet, isn't it?
I love it. I love the kind of treatment of Brad in this movie because everybody kind of like, everybody seems to like not take Brad seriously, but people kind of like not live for Janet, but people are kind of more supportive of Janet than they are of Brad.
Yeah.
Like Brad seems to kind of be looked at as kind of like a, like when they first step up to the lab, I love it. When he calls Magenta and Columbia over, he's like, I'm going to entertain our guests. He goes, welcome to... and then like goes to kind of shake Brad's hand, and then like when he like takes Janet's like hand and kisses or whatever, and like Brad gets all pissed and he's like, oh Shante. I love it so much. I love it.
The level of extraness is not enough. It's not enough. I want more. I'm quoting Andre Leon Talley
Speaking
here.
of Brad and Janet, we kind of get like they kind of get like broken up in a way, like separated, and they get put into two different bedrooms, and it's a great scene. It's actually so good, and
it's the same
really,
room.
really funny as well.
It's the same room, same shot, everything.
It's literally the same room, just different lighting.
Yeah,
same shot, same room, different lighting color, but
we get the
like
bisexual
same,
lighting,
like monologue and everything. Literally, yeah, the
we
bisexual
literally
lighting.
get the bisexual
We get
lighting.
the same monologue and everything. The blue and the red, yeah. So like Janet is like in this room and she's like, "Where's Brad? Where's anything?" And she's like, "Oh,
I love that
in
cut.
despair." And
Like, oh, Brad,
yeah.
what is he doing? What could be happening? All of that. I love that. It's so extra.
And then like Frankenfurter comes into the room, but we're not to know it's Frankenfurter. Like it's Brad, and I want to know how he's doing this. He comes in and he speaks in Brad's voice and everything, and like kind of gets on top of Janet or whatever like that. And there's a line in there. It's like she pulls off the wig or whatever like that, and she's like, "What have you done with Brad?" And he's like, "Nothing. Why do you think I should?" I love it. I love it so much.
I absolutely love.
You've rather enjoyed it. Just quite nice.
All right, John McClane.
I can't help it. I know. I love Frankenfurter has this like very slight like Scottish affectation.
I love
Like, maybe show you around, maybe play your sound. Yeah.
We can take out an old Steve Reeves movie. That whole like intro to him is fantastic. When she's just like, I want to go
I'm just plain scared.
And it's, I'm here. You've nothing to worry. And then she turns, and then it's that zoom up shot into like the pure white, like ghost white Frankenfurter look, and she faints. I was like,
with the cape and everything.
yeah,
We just
extra.
we get like only a peek of like a heel underneath, and then he goes up and gets onto like kind of the top of the stage or whatever like that, and just throws it up.
Yes.
And like I genuinely can't imagine what like audiences who didn't have a clue what they were going to watch thought of that, like back in '75, because like again, it's like we're only 6 years out from the Stonewall riots, and it's still illegal to have all of this shit kind of happening. We're like literally like at the very, very start of the
gay liberation movement. Yeah,
exactly. You know,
Marsha P. Johnson, Sylvia Rivera. Gotta say it.
Say their names. No, for real. Like these people are our ancestors for real.
Yeah, truth. Expressionism.
I mean, at least like I don't want to like speak for you or anything like that, but like you're like very, very, very much so like part of the community.
Yeah, I would like. This would be coming from a more personal opinion. So like, if people don't agree with me, that's absolutely fine. Like everyone can have their own opinion, separate opinions. So you're all entitled to those opinions. When it comes to the separations of communities and things that I don't believe there should be, but if people do want to have that, then there can be, and that's absolutely fine. I mean, segregation is something we fought against for, the last 70 to 80 years of people's lifetimes. I mean, the whole gay liberation front was actually the whole point of that, to not be segregated from normal, quote unquote, normal society. So when it comes to like being part of or being called an ally or things like that, I would prefer to just be, part of the community, just be accepted as a person for who they are, rather than you're an ally to the community.
I know, but that's your role.
Yeah.
Okay, well, while we're on it, like we're going to be on it. Like we can cut this if you don't want to keep it in or anything like that.
No,
but I
I'll
think
keep
like
this in, bitch. Keep
there's
it in.
Okay, cool. You just called me a bitch. Nathan hates gay people.
I hate gay people. This
I
is
say
it.
an ally. That's your drag name, an ally.
You can read it as an
No,
ally.
it's real. I think there's just kind of this sense of, I know at least in the gay community or like in the queer community, there's this huge, and I'm not like disagreeing with you. I understand that like that's kind of eventually where we would like everything to be. But I think there's like this strong sense of like wanting to like establish an identity for yourself. So like kind of having things be very like clear cut and like this is us and this is you. I think like those two things like can exist without it being like a fuck you kind of thing or whatever like that. But also like our friend group, like we're
It's a huge eclectic mix. Yeah.
Exactly, and pretty much like being gay is like the least weird thing about any of us. We're all just freaks because we're freaks. I always said that even if I was straight, I'd still be a freak.
To say that.
I'd still be a little punk, you know what I mean? Like I'd still wear a Rocky Horror t-shirt and you know.
Absolutely. That's definitely something that I really would agree with there. And again, like we can always agree to disagree with different things, and that's the best thing about having an open dialogue and a discussion. I mean, we're actually going to get into quite a lot of this in our topic discussion episode, which is going to be Camp Notes on Horror. Thank you for that pun. It was my opinion, my idea. And yeah, I think...
Yeah, change one word is somebody else's idea. Lame-o, low-life, loser.
Losers Club forever, thank you. But yeah, no, it's definitely like you just said there, like being gay or being like whatever it is, whatever your identity was, it was the like I would accept you. It wouldn't matter whether you were like being gay has really nothing to do with your friendship with me, if that makes sense. It's your horror is more exclusively why we became friends. Yeah. Well, actually let us know if you want to know kind of our personal history with horror kind of a thing, because horror is, and I'm actually very, very proud of this and like very happy that like it's not even remotely made up, that it's like horror specifically brought us together
is the reason why Nathan and I have and Ryan, your brother, have become such good friends, because there was a kindred spiritness kind of there. We'll get to that one day if you guys want to hear it. Just because like there's kind of like enough of a rich backstory there.
Yeah. We are the weirdos, mister. We are the weirdos. It's true.
Yeah, no, for real. Oh God! Like seriously, this movie just makes me feel like there's community, like there's like yeah, even if I wasn't gay, even if I was trans or black or whatever it is, it's like this movie like just gives you the sense of like, just come along anyway.
Yeah,
You know
like
what I mean? Like who fucking cares?
like self-identity and the expression. Like I said, like there's no rules when you go to a Rocky Horror Picture Show viewing a show. Like the only rule is just be you and be you as loud as possible, because that's what the film is. Just be you but loud.
They're gonna throw popcorn in your hair.
Yeah, like I mean, wear a newspaper over your head, throw popcorn at people, bring some Frankenfurter sausages. That's what this whole thing is about. Is about you, but more. Be big, be extravagant, be loud, and don't ever be silenced by anything, because that's what this film is. It's telling you to be your authentic self and let no one else tell you to be otherwise.
Don't dream it, be it.
That's another thing. Yes.
Everything in between.
Don't dream it, be it. Like that's.
I think like no, genuinely, like, the message of this movie, it might like it can be kind of easy to on surface level misconstrue this, but like genuinely, the story is at base level, at least Frankenfurter's story is that it's like he's come to Earth and he's fallen in love with, like everybody he found there, you know.
Yeah. I mean, he says that in the song.
Once he kind of gets to it.
He says,
yeah, exactly.
I'd like to come again and stay. Oh,
stay.
Oh my God, the
and
love
even
I feel for that
move,
man.
like that song, the opening line to that song, whatever happened to Fay Ray?
Yeah.
The delicate satin frame. But I love that. Like, I really, really heavily identify with like all of these things that he's talking about, you know what I mean? It's like I identify with things like that. I don't want to be a woman, but I identify with the like the feminine of it, or the glamour or the beauty of it, you know. And
the romance.
I love the idea that like he looks like this, but it's like it's his version of glamour. It's like he's taking all these things and like put them in a little blender, and this is like the result. You know what I mean? I just love it. I actually can't say enough about this movie.
Yeah,
you know?
like that
like
whole.
This episode would be 5 hours long if we had our way.
Oh man, I mean, what we're at like nearly the 75-minute mark, but like I could talk. Time check, we're at 75 minutes, but like. This, like you said, like you could talk about this film for hours. Like you could never have enough. It's not enough. I want more. Give me more train, and I want 5 people holding my purse. Like that is what this is, you know. And like the way he like you just said there, like he's a huge eclectic mix of all of these glamorous, beautiful things, and like how he expresses himself, or I should say the alien expresses itself, is as this.
Oh, he's a boy. He's a male.
And he just expresses himself in the most beautiful sense that he thinks he can, and it may not be what society sometimes thinks, but it is still beautiful, and there's a romance to it, and there's a love and a deep reverence for what he is and what he stands for. And I think actually this is something you and me were like, oh, the top like 5 outfits, or like his last outfit was not our favorite. I just want like that outfit that he wears to dinner is probably the most beautiful out of the lot, or the leather biker kind of one.
Well, that actually is my favorite outfit, is like like the default Frankenfurter, where it's like a corset type top with the pearls, the tiny little underwear, the fishnets, and the heels, whatever, but with the leather jacket over it. I love that. Like I literally have like one of those in my wardrobe that I'm like working on, you know. Like I think that's one of those things, like every like little like punk like little like fucker like I always wants like a highly decorated, extremely heavy fucking leather jacket just covered in pins and chains and badges, and there's like Coca-Cola lids, PepsiCo like lids all glued to it and stuff like that.
You just want to be in a club like fucking pogoing in like the 80s to like some heavy metal or some shit, or like glam rock. It's just,
I have.
that's it.
I even said to you before we started recording this that the one time that I got up and Rocky Horror Drag and went out with shout out to Lena again, because she was the only bitch that came out with me on Halloween this year, like this particular year. We went out as Magenta and Frank, but we went to a straight club and nobody else dressed up, so it was literally just me and my friend Lena dressed as a maid and this, you know what I mean? And everybody kind of thought we were just like goth or whatever, and just were like, I love you. Like, you guys just, you know, you have your own personal style, and I love that. Like, yeah. I'm wearing a fucking, like, Dennis the Menace wig. Like, I look crazy right now.
Yeah.
But thank you.
Yeah, there's just something about this film, and, like, the will to self-express,
the will to be loved. That's all Frankenfurter actually wants in this movie, is to be loved.
I think that's why
it's so sad.
Yeah, that's exactly. I was just about to say that. I think that's why the ending and why I'm Going Home is so, like, it feels like someone is squeezing at your heartstrings. Do you know what I mean? Like, when you're watching that, and like especially when the crowd, the audience, like, you know, appears.
Everybody's applauding,
and
he's
like
happy.
he's like,
they're like accepting him,
and everyone else is looking at him with pity and crying, and like, because everyone else knows what's just about to happen and he doesn't. And like, and that one shot, we even said this earlier, was when Columbia is at the light and she just realizes like what he's doing and what he's envisioning.
Yeah, she takes in like a big inhale and like kind of like sighs, and like you can see her realize that like he's gonna die.
Yeah.
And like it's weird, like the ending always catches me off guard because the movie is so, like, it's so joyous, and like again it's like I know kind of like harping on, but like it's fucking Pride Month or whatever. It's like, this is one of the first times I remember seeing like just like real like queer like joy, like just like a fucking good old time. There was no, like, nobody had to like come out or whatever. It's like like this was the movie just dominated by like just happiness. And then at the end, oh God, it's like he's just like outrightly saying, it's like, I just wanted to be loved, like I just wanted people around me, and you know, and then failed his mission, you know, and they fucking kill his ass. But this scene comes with like some added bonuses. When near the end, Patricia Quinn and Richard O Brien walk into the fucking auditorium, and she has the fucking Bride of Frankenstein hair, and he has the little like ray gun, which like we were saying earlier, like if you guys don't know, we talk about the movie for like 40 minutes before we actually start recording. Yeah. But like the American Gothic, like that's referenced at the very start with Patricia Quinn, and Richard O Brien adds the American Gothic painting, like the couple, and the ray gun and everything is like shaped like a pitchfork and everything, and it's just, oh, it's so referential. It's like it's everything I want from a movie. It's just perfect.
Well, just while we're
little underwear on.
Yeah, just while we're like on that note, there's one thing that I wanted to point out. Well, speaking of paintings, was because the Charles Gray, who plays the criminologist, says very specifically that when they're talking about Eddie, and he goes, but he never brought his mother nothing but shame. And he has in his book a picture of the painting of Whistler's mother. And someone pointed this out to me, and I could not unsee it. When you actually like zoom into that picture, it's actually Meatloaf in full drag. It's amazing. I swear to God, it's so good. When I seen it, I was like, I can't unsee it. Oh my God, it's brilliant. And he's not even like shaved or nothing. Like, you can see the stubble of his facial hair in everything, and he's just sitting there like back reclined. Oh, it's so funny. Oh, I love it. It's great.
I love that song now.
When Eddie said he didn't like his penny and knew he wasn't no good kid. Bum bum.
When he threatened the knife
with a switchblade knife. What a guy!
Makes you cry. And I did. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. And then we find out at the end of this movie that the castle was a spaceship.
Oh my god! Like, can we just talk
And
about
like pretty
that?
much like they're like Magenta and
Get the fuck out.
Red
Get
Farm
out.
kind of like, you know, you should probably like leave before like you like while you can or whatever like that. And then all of these people just go up to space. Like they're left, and we're actually left on. It's actually not even the last song. It's the second last song. We got Heroes, which is like it's like it leaves the movie off on a really weird kind of melancholy kind of sad note.
Yeah.
And we got like a reprise of science fiction double feature where it's like a sad version.
Yeah.
It's like really sad. But again, like you can't leave this movie without like just like a huge like grin on your face. It's just this movie makes me feel like warm and happy and like part of something. I remember I used to have like I used to watch this every single year on Valentine's Day, and that would be like my anti-Valentine's Day like thing. And I would sit in bed with a leather jacket on and watch this movie, which is so unnecessary. But again, it's like I feel like that's almost the point of this movie is like extravagance and fun for extravagance and fun's sake, you know.
And I think that that's sort of like I think that's exactly what this film is. It's really just an extravagant theatrical campy time. Like, I mean, the very definition
Campy time.
how very camp, but like the very definition of camp is to be extravagant, is to be extra with no apologies. It's to have a message but not have a message. To define
but that's
camp,
not the point.
but it's not the point, exactly. Like it's to define camp as to betray it, and this film does not define any particular message apart from be true to who you are and express yourself. And that's the whole power of this film, in my opinion.
And can I actually just say very quickly, I never, just to very quickly note at the remake, I feel like that is why the remake just doesn't work, because the remake was trying to be something.
Yeah.
Whereas with this movie is irreverent and it makes fun of itself, like, in itself, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're able to kind of have a laugh at all of these characters, but not, I don't want to say like at the expense of anybody, but it's like, yeah, the point of camp is not to try to,
yeah,
exactly,
yeah, like
camp simply just kind of is, you know what I mean? Yeah. And that's why I feel like, just very quickly before we go, because I know the Met Gala is something that always comes up with us every year. Yeah. We're always very like we've got the opera glasses out, you know, on it, yeah. That's why I feel like camp was like a very, very hard one to nail.
Yeah. Because
camp is not like, you can't just like, I know what camp is when I see it, but I couldn't like draw it for you.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? I couldn't say like, here it is, this is camp, but I can give you plenty of examples. Even though those examples could literally be Valley of the Dolls to Rocky Horror Picture Show to like Fraggle Rock. You know what I mean? There's just, it's too broad, you know. But I feel like this movie is just a perfect example. It's a camp all time, and everybody's invited.
Yeah.
Get your lipstick on.
This is just something I was just looking up real quick, because I definitely think this one quote from Susan Sontag's essay really kind of like nails this, what we're talking about, on the head. Camp taste turns its back on good or bad taste of the ordinary aesthetical judgment. Camp doesn't reserve things. It doesn't argue that it's good or bad, or the bad is good. What it does is to offer for art and for life a different or supplementary set of standards. I think that completely defines what this movie was about. You can, because you said it earlier, it was like, this is a subversion of taste levels, of ways of thinking, of freedom of expression, of opinions, and how strong it can be when it's trying to give a message or choose not to give a message. And I think that's where this film and then obviously the songs, because the songs are fucking cute, draw its power from. I think that's the kind of the best way I can explain it.
There's a quote from John Waters that's like very similar to that I always enjoy. It's to me, bad taste is what entertainment is all about. If someone vomits while watching one of my films, it's like getting a standing ovation. But one must remember that there is a such thing as good bad taste and bad taste.
Yes.
And I think he said, in order to understand bad taste, one must have very good taste.
Yeah.
Yeah, for real. So that was the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I had a blast recording this episode, like I knew I would. Do you have any kind of closing statements, any last thoughts?
Not particularly. I mean, like, let's just
Great.
say we're on a time constraint, yes.
We sure are. One of us has to be out of here by 4.
Oh.
One of us has a mullet.
And we know who has the mullet in this situation. Yeah, no, I agree. I think good and bad taste is definitely a great note to kind of like leave off on, yeah. So what do we got next week, Lee?
So, this was actually requested, but also it just seemed like the natural fit. We're doing our first sequel. Woo! I get to finally be the sequel, you guys.
Sequel!
We're doing Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge, the gay nightmare movie.
Woo! Love it. Pride Month continues.
I'm so excited. Yeah, we're going to continue Pride Month, obviously, up until next month, because that's how time works. Thanks, Gregorian calendar. But yeah, I'm so excited for that. And you know, something possibly in the works.
We're gonna see. We're gonna see what it is, and we're gonna work on it, and we're gonna fucking nail it either way. We're gonna smash this shit. Yeah, and we're gonna have a good time. So you've been listening to
They're Here podcast,
a discussion and disembowelment of all things horror, fear, and the campy. I see you shiver with anticipation. So don't forget to like, subscribe, let us know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to follow us on our official Instagram page for some daily content updates. If you have any film recommendations for us, be sure to let us know. Don't forget, the third week of this month you get to decide between A or B, the horror film of the month with your choice. And then of course at every last Friday of the month we will have a topic discussion episode, so tune in, drop out, turn in, turn off, and have a good old gay time. I don't know.
Fucking goofy, bro.
I'm waiting for
guys.
it. Go on, do it.
Unpleasant dreams.